Good evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody here for our regular monthly meeting here on August 26th. I do want to say to everybody, we do require that you are wearing masks during this meeting. If you don't have a mask with you, Corinda has one right here for you. If you don't feel comfortable in wearing a mask, we do ask that you do leave our meeting and leave our building. We're complying with regulations as we have been told to do. So we appreciate that. Thank you. Number 3, agenda approval.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion to amend the agenda and move item number, and to take action on item number 39 as the next item on the agenda.
Second.
Those approved?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 39. Let me move ahead, I'm sorry. We missed that one. We talked about this item earlier in our tax levy meeting. I will go ahead and bring it up. Sorry. Number 39, approved Council for Better Education resolution. Rationale, the Scott County Board of Education authorizes Superintendent Dr. Kevin Hub to take all necessary steps to support the Council for Better Education, CBE, in its legal challenges to the unconstitutionality of tax credits in House Bill 563, including the payment of any appropriate dues or assessments related to this district's membership in CBE or in support of the referenced legal challenge.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Go back to our regular agenda. Number 4, student recognition.
All right, this one I'm going to carry a little bit of the water on. So we have Hunter Kegley. He's a junior that attends Scott County High School and is part of the Media Arts Village at Elkhorn Crossing School. Hunter's also the 2021 Yes I Can winner in the self-advocacy category. This award is given by the Kentucky Council for Exceptional Children. Hunter was nominated for this award by one of his teachers, Mrs. Courtney Casefolk, who we have with us in the room, with the help of media arts teacher, Mr. Josh Jones, who we also have in the room. As part of the nomination and a culminating activity in his media arts class, Hunter made a video that we would like to share with you today so that you can better understand his strength in both self-advocacy and film production.
Hi, my name is Hunter Kegley and I am a digital artist and high school student. This year has been really hard for me, but through self-advocacy, I have slowly grown.
Hunter has been a student here at Elkhorn Crossing School in the Media Arts program for 2 years. Over the course of the pandemic, I have seen such growth in Hunter, especially in the area of self-advocacy. Hunter has made strides both verbally and visually in how he will advocate his needs to others. Verbally, in the classroom, he will answer questions and he will participate online. And visually, he will send things and send me messages through Zoom or through email. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we have all struggled, and unfortunately during this time, Hunter lost his grandfather to COVID-19, and he was very devastated during that time. But soon after, the vaccine came out for people who are 16 years old and above, and Hunter advocated that he wanted the vaccine and that he needed that to move forward. And he went for it and got the shot. And the next thing that he started working on was his permit. And that driving permit, he did really well and he tried, but the first couple of tries he was unsuccessful. So he advocated the need that he needed to learn some calming strategies when going in to take that written exam. And whenever he went to take that written exam for the 3rd time, he passed his permit. And now he is driving behind the wheel.
wondered what?
We are pleased to have Hunter and his family, including his mom Mary, who's a rock star school secretary at Creekside Elementary School, teachers and principals from both schools here with us this evening to celebrate this accomplishment. Hunter, if you would please come forward.
And sit where?
I've got a small token for you. All right, here you go. There's a small gift for you. We'll stand over here. All right, and then I also have a challenge coin, a Scott County Schools challenge coin for you, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And if we could,
Pretty cool.
do you mind if we get Miss Casefold up here and Mr. Jones? All right, come on up. Come on up here, Mrs. Casefold. Mr. Jones, let's get you a challenge coin as well. Come on up, Mrs. Casefold. There
Thank
are,
you.
ma'am. Yes, yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Come on up, Mr. Jones. Yes, yes. Come on here. Let's get a picture. Let's get a picture over here real quick.
Thank you so much. Number 5 is public comment. And I would like to say, just for courtesy throughout our meeting, we'd like to limit each person to 5 minutes. If you would, please try to confer with us. We'd greatly appreciate that. I have a list here, and I have a few people on it. One person listed here that they'd like to go last, so I'm going to step up and go to, I believe it's Corbin Gretchen. Is that correct? If you'd like to come up and just have a seat here in front of our microphone.
How are you all?
All right.
Hi there.
All right, so the school board has decided to have our kids wear masks all day, every day, like muzzled dogs. I've read the arguments, I've listened to it, things, and y'all are missing some key things such as evidence, data, science, common sense, and basic human decency. You presented no facts. So here's some facts. COVID poses almost no threat to our kids. 4.2 million children have tested positive for COVID, with a total of 0.003% of died. What about the flu? In 18-19 flu season, the CDC estimates 480 kids died from the flu. Was anybody in here asking for masks for the flu? Was anybody back there asking for masks for the flu?
Yes.
Which is more dangerous, COVID or the flu? None of y'all? Okay. Do you know what it's called when you force kids to do something? They have to wear a mask to fear for a virus that poses almost no threat to them. It's called child abuse. Want to look up a disease look up Munchausen by proxy, because that's what this is. Now, do any of you know what kind of damage we do to children for making them cover their faces, teaching them that the air is toxic and that everyone around them is sick, depriving them of the ability to see others' faces? Do you know what kind of damage that does? Have y'all even thought about it? Have you thought about the health effects of forcing kids to breathe through sweat, spit, dirt, soaked rags every day? Are you sure there's no health risk to that? Do you know what the effect is on children developmentally if they're not able to read each other's facial cues? What about learning to read when they can't see their teacher enunciate the words? What does it do to their child developing immune system if they are forced to wear a mask every day? You're satisfied to place this burden on children anyways. It's not to keep them safe. It's not to keep the adults safe because they can all get vaccinated if they want to. You do it to make yourself feel better and to protect yourself politically. It's a disgrace and you should all be ashamed of yourselves. Thank you.
I do want to remind everybody, just so everybody is aware, this is public comment. The board does not, we don't converse usually during these comments, so I just want to make sure everybody's understanding.
Yes, ma'am.
That's how we operate our meeting.
Okay. I just wanted to bring up the fact about these masks that these kids are wearing. Most of the masks are, the holes in between the weave is 60 microns or greater, especially for non-medical masks, such as these trendy designer masks everybody seems to be wearing. The cellular virus is a micron or less. It's physically impossible to stop it. It's like trying to stop mosquitoes with a
Excuse
chain
me.
link fence.
I'm sorry, let me jump in. Can you please just secure your mask so it is over your nose and your mouth? I'm sorry, we have to comply with our regulations. I appreciate that.
Sure. But it's just, I guess, from a parent's point of view, it seems like the fear of the educators is being used as a belt or a rod to punish our children, and will not stand for it.
Thank you, sir. Number 3, Amy Fair. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. I would like to speak in opposition to our previous two speakers. While I respect their opinion and the information that they have brought forward, my son, much like Hunter, is autistic. He has underlying health conditions, and he is only as safe as the people around him. People that are vaccinated, people that are wearing masks, and people that are looking out for the well-being of all of our children. Masks aren't fun. No one likes them. The best part is that sometimes they come in fun designs. But they keep our children safe. And they keep the kids that have conditions that wouldn't allow them to be in school without that safety. My child cannot do online learning. He cannot sit in front of a laptop. He's nonverbal. That's not something he can do. So in order for him to be in school, for him to be in a place where he receives occupational therapy, speech therapy, where he gets to interact with other children, where he gets physical activity, where he gets to be in a learning environment, he is only as safe as the people around him are willing to be. And so I would like to say that a mask mandate keeps everyone safe. It may be a rough road. It may be something that you don't like having on your face. And I understand that. And there were some valid points made about children learning from other people's facial expressions and teachers not being able to mouth words. But keeping our children in school where their teacher is there with them and can interact with them, if you can't see their mouth, we'll work around it. Children are incredibly resilient. They have incredible powers to adapt and overcome, much more than us as adults. And so to keep our children in school and to keep all of our children safe, the mask mandate is something that I very definitely rise in support of. Thank you.
Thank you. Courtney Casebolt. Hello.
Hello, my name is Courtney Casebolt, and I'm the president of the Scott County Education Association. On behalf of our members, we are grateful for the combined collaboration of Scott County Education Association and school officials, including Superintendent Hub and Superintendent-elect Parker. Our schools count on our superintendent and elected leaders to do what is best for the safety and health of our children, and also ensure the best educational outcomes possible. SCEA, along with KEA, supports Scott County Schools' mask requirement. The spread of COVID-19 is currently at the highest it's ever been in Scott County. Masks are a simple, low-impact, essential precaution that will protect students, educators, and families and allow schools to remain open. Data from last school year shows that Scott County Schools' mask requirement is effective in reducing COVID-19 transmission. In fact, WEDCO data shows the majority of current transmission is not in school, but in the community where masks are not in use and among the unvaccinated. Students learn best in person. And the wraparound services offered by our schools are most effective in person as well. In order to ensure the continuous high-quality in-person instruction our students deserve, we must all use common sense to protect ourselves and each other. Scott County educators know the importance and value of in-person learning, and we are doing our part to ensure that students can continue to learn in person. But educators cannot do this alone. All public education stakeholders and every member of our community needs to do their part to stop the spread of COVID-19 and keep our students safe.
Thank you. Thank you. From my records, we have no more further comment, public comment. Is that correct, Brenda? Did you have any others? Okay. All right. Thank you. Number 6, consent agenda items A through G.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, levy the real estate and tangible property tax rates for school year 2021 to 2022.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, taxation of recreational and non-commercial aircraft and non-commercial out-of-state or Coast Guard registered watercraft.
Move to approve.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, levy the 2022 motor vehicle and watercraft property tax rate. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, construction report. Hey there, Tony.
Just in time.
Good evening, yes, yes, well, I've been hanging out right outside.
Okay.
Let's see, I guess I'll sit down here so you can.
Okay,
see the
absolutely.
microphone. Well, good evening, everyone. Certainly proud and honored to present the presentation I have tonight for the new Scott County High School. And there's the rendering. These slideshows will be a representation of what will be sent to Kentucky Department of Education for final approval. Yes, please, thank you
I'm sorry.
so much. Yes, that helps the total so much. So 228,000 square feet, 1,500 students, 45 classrooms, 2,300 seat gym, 730 seat auditorium, numerous science labs, agriculture, things of that nature. What you see here would be the views somewhat as if you were at the roundabout, but it's a little bit zoomed in. We'll back out, and this is more of an overall view. You can see the bus lanes down on the left and the parent visitors on the right. This is just a close-up of some of the detail elevations that we're doing. You can see there's 2 different kinds of bricks, stone. The middle wider panel there has some metal panel reliefs.
I like those columns.
How about that? Yeah, we've tried it since our design development. We've tried to incorporate a little bit more traditional. I should have mentioned that with the pediment on the front, you know, the gable on the front of the building that you saw. We talked about making bring a little more traditional with the columns. I'll back that up, and you can see in the columns, the bases at the bottom are a little shorter, and the columns are a little wider.
That's the first thing I noticed.
Yeah, yeah. So
It
now
does kind of look good.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. I like that a lot.
yeah. So we've really, played with some colors here to try to make a nice contrast, but at the same time, not be loud with any colors, just be complementary with the colors and the bricks and the stone and the glass. And call colors and the metal panels. This is the gymnasium side. This is kind of played down a little bit, but still harkens to the traditional style we're talking about. Those are stairwells on either side that'll take you to all the levels inside. We left the areas, it's common now for people to hang large banners, and certainly Scott County High School is, I'm sure, going to hang some large banners, even on the outside. In those 2 spaces on either side of those, before the trees grow too tall, offer a good place to hang some nice big banners on either side of the lighter colored brick entry there, the cardinal head. This is the cafeteria side, and I can, from this picture, That brick is very washed out, so it's not gonna be that light. But, of course, the cafeteria also acts as a storm shelter, I should have mentioned. So this school is one of the first in the state. There's a few, but one of the first in the state, especially high school, that's gonna have its own storm shelter, and this is inside of the cafeteria. If we move, and this is swinging back around to the front of the school again, you get a better look at the entry there, and the columns and the plinths and the gable. Of course, the signage is something that, and the specific colors and signage, of course, after it bids, is going to be something that we'll bring back to you and refine even more as we select brick colors. Now let's move to the interior. We all remember the discussion about the central staircase. Moving a little bit more towards contemporary on the inside, but this staircase is certainly deserving of. This is right in the center of the school, and will help the kids communicate up and down between 3 floors. If we move inside that glass wall, this is what it would look like inside of there. You can see all 3 floors communicating. Nice stairwells there, brick inside the building as well. This is a view as if you just entered. Now this rendering does not show a lot of shelves on the right and all the trophies that'll be sitting there as soon as this building is built. Because where you see that reflective glass on the right, of course, yes, that's all trophy cases down through there on the right-hand side. And I'm sure day one the shelves will be full. So there'll be a lot of dynamic visual effect on just from that alone. Here's a view. If you turn back around, you can still see the trophy cases on the left. The media center is on the upper section, and the entry to the building below there. Classrooms with the higher glass on the right side. So not at distracting level, but enough so that there's shared light. And I should mention, here we have clerestory light. Instead of skylights coming straight down through the clerestory, the lights, the windows are vertical on the side, and you can see where the light's coming into the hallway there. So a lot of natural light into the main corridor there. This is the media center area. We've done a lot of work on this area, and I think it's going to be something you can see a lot of natural light in there as well. So if we go to the site plan, of course, this is really scaled out. North is to the left, south is to the right. So that's Longwood Pike on the right, and the bypass to the bottom of the screen there. Of course, the school right in the middle of everything there, with bus lanes to the lower side and student parking to the upper side. So let's scoot in there a little bit. You can see the entry off of the bypass there. 4 lanes coming in. So of course there's a Longwood Pike entry as well, but this will be the main entry coming and looking straight into the school. Plenty of place for parent pickup, buses. When the buses aren't there, you can park there, as in just normal cars. 750 parking spaces in total. That doesn't even include when school's out. You can park on the double lanes. You can probably get 1,000 cars on this lot. If we go to, this would be, and I've included the road to the right there, the other entry off of Longwood Pike, which winds around. And you see the bid package 2 items, which would be the football field, the soccer field, the grandstands, and the field house. But the Longwood Road access will be there. That road needs to be there. If we go to the other side, you can see the softball and baseball facility with plenty of parking for that. And of course, while events are going on, if there's not softball or baseball, people can use that parking lot as well. So plenty of parking on the site. And I'm moving through some of these because schematic and design development, we discussed a lot about the routes of the buses and the parent pickup. And of course, what you should know also is that we've been through with your administrators and Ms. Williams and just a number of
Both high schools,
faculty,
et cetera.
staff.
Yeah.
We've you know all the meetings we've been through and interviewed both high school staff. So if we go to the floor plan, and this is really washed out. It's supposed to be a nice, pretty color, but you still get the gist of this is pretty much what you saw at design development. There's been little tweaks here and there, whether it's a door location or a window location. I'm going to zoom in on those, yeah, and it is all the nice colors really getting washed out. But again, you can see the black lines that outline the rooms. Here you have a couple of agricultural spaces with classrooms, the cafeteria at the bottom there. Also acts as a storm shelter. Nice kitchen and serving line, band, choral. If we move towards the center, there's the 730-seat auditorium we talked about, 2,300-seat gymnasium. See the center stair near the bottom there, and that whole academic wing running along the bottom of the screen there. And then if we go towards the right, as we discussed before, when you come in, all of the general office space is on the left. And there's really, some good accommodating spaces in there. We've really worked with the office staff to give them enough room to function as they need to function. Special ed and resource and youth service to the right as you enter the door there. If we move up to the second level, it's pretty much it's an academic wing mostly up there. Completely over to the right of the screen, of course, is the media center, which we saw a picture of. And all along the bottom is academic wing, their science labs. Art room, which is going to be a source of an agenda item later, is all the way to the left. There is that's facing north, and that's hitting the north light that Katie likes to see. But when we sent it through design development, they also want it on the ground floor. That's so somebody can walk outside. Well, that's the very, if you see their door, and I'm sorry if you all just go ahead and move up. Their door goes right out to the stairwell, and they can walk right down the steps and go outside. So that's the variance request that you have as a separate agenda item, a few agenda items on the page. It's just ask KDE if it's okay to not have the art room on the ground floor. And of course, we've been through this with the art teacher, and well, this hasn't changed since day one. Science lab, classroom, center stairwell in the middle. You see, I skipped over this area, but that's a blow up of the media center, another science lab, academic classroom. The lower level, again, mostly, academic areas. If we zoom in on them, we've got under the office areas, we've got some tech offices and resource rooms, computer labs, science labs, classrooms. We go to the left side, another science lab, classrooms, and a culinary. This culinary. This is going to be commercial grade, kind of like what happened with the welding lab across town at Great Crossing. This is going to happen with culinary here. This is going to be commercial grade culinary. And just to talk about the schedule a little bit, this is just a schedule that we've been working on from really last June. And just to blow up, board approval for schematic 25th happened, May 13th happened, and today you'll see August 26th, board approval for final drawing. So that's just to let you know we're on time, and part of the bids is that we're, establishing bid dates, which right now is still October 19th, so it's before your October board meeting. And that is the presentation for the new Scott County High School, so we would recommend approval of final plans.
How much room you got around the west office?
How much room? Well, there's a lot of room to the west, but it's a hill. I'm sorry, east. A lot of room to the east, but it goes up on a hill. So fortunately, a lot of that sound and the lighting will be dropped a little bit from where the neighborhood is. Does that make sense? Do I need to go back to that side?
I'm just curious how much room.
Yes, go ahead, go back. so we can see.
Several hundred feet.
One thing to keep in mind on that, because isn't that where I think the power lines might be?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
too, though, so that's something to think about.
Yeah, there's, well, if the, from home plate, that's 350, so that's about 300 feet from the foul pole to the
I
boundary.
guess my question boils down to being, is there room to put another
More, another baseball field?
Where's the other?
single side?
There would possibly be enough
Even
space.
in the remaining parking
There would possibly be enough space between the softball field and the boundary of the neighborhood. The only problem is it's an incredibly steep
lot.
grade.
Yes, it is.
See, that's our problem, is that to accomplish those two fields as they are, everything to the upper side of the screen there is now going to be a steep hill.
Yeah.
Probably difficult to do anything flat. Without spending a lot of money, because 8 feet down is
A
solid
lot of
rock.
excavating in there.
Yeah. Now, so if we're talking about, see, that's a big
How
knoll
crazy would it
right
be
there.
to swap put in on the hill? Park lot on the hill.
Are you talking about the main student parking lot?
No,
Oh,
over where your baseball field is. Put in on the hill, I'm just thinking out loud here.
Well-
And I know I sprung this on you, I just told about it.
Right. Well, it's nothing that we've considered as a part of the scope while we're designing, so we would certainly have to give it a lot of thought.
I was just curious.
I'm not gonna say it's impossible, because, it just depends on how much money the board is willing to spend, because that is, again, even for, the parking lot still has to be fairly flat too, so that very steep hill to the upper side of our convection screen there is gonna be pretty expensive to make flat. I'm not gonna say anything's impossible. I mean, if the board wants us to consider are you talking about trying to make room for another baseball field?
And I just thought about it just now, honestly, I'm not, like,
I would almost come over here to the right side of the screen,
right,
to the south of the football field.
right, between it
Sorry, Doctor, I didn't get ready to point, I changed the screen on you. Again, the trick there is, again, that's a big knoll. It's a huge mound, and that's why we really kind of have stayed away from there. We're thinking of bid package 2 that we're probably going to be bring a road and a little bit of parking to that end of the ticket booth, which isn't shown yet.
Yeah.
But if for bid package 2, we want to look at, and that's probably something that I should have mentioned, and I know you all are already aware of it, but just I guess for the record, that the field house, the football and soccer, and the softball and baseball, other than just earthwork, are not a part of this package that you're approving tonight to get approved by Katie, to go to bid.
Right.
But it's certainly in the master plan in your all's intention.
Hey, Tony, can you get to a floor plan so we can show Diana the 2 elevators, please?
I was trying to find the second elevator real quick as you were showing us.
And I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong way. And I'm sorry, the color's washed out. So
That's
bad.
okay. It's all right.
They're pretty on the prints.
I know we have one over here
There's
with
one,
the,
right there.
where's the other one?
There you go. It's in the center of the.
There it is.
you
Okay, thank you. I was trying to find it. I thought it was one of
There's
that
one in-
area. And then my other question to you is, our great hallway, as we call it, great crossing, is it the same width
Yes.
as this one?
Yes.
It just looks a little bit different in your schematic, correct?
When you say in the rendering?
Yeah, in the
It
rendering,
could have
excuse
something to
me,
do with
not
the colors
schematic.
and the
Yeah.
glass and the
Yeah.
reflection.
It just looks a little bit different because we have it set up a little bit differently at Great
Well, it's
Crossing.
taller
so- Okay,
over there too. It's a little bit taller.
okay.
And you're also looking directly at skylights.
Yes.
Which has some where in this design, the lights are on
The
the
vertical.
side, yeah.
Okay.
And facing towards the west.
Okay.
So look behind you, there's your pretty colors on that screen.
Yeah,
Well,
that
how
one's
about
coming
that?
out nice. Yeah.
I want that
The
projector.
projector's not doing right.
Yeah.
Everybody
It
look
looks
that way.
great, Tony, back
Turn
there.
around.
Okay, do you have a question, Stephanie?
Jen, can you go back to the first slide? The first picture of these here, the line. There we go. Help me. I'm trying to.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Where you are?
Right,
Okay.
right.
You are, I should have brought my little.
Kind of where the bathrooms and the slot machines are. Great Crossing.
So right where it says, yeah, point right, yeah, you're right there, looking at that piece. You're in the lobby.
Like where the 2 main, across from the concession stand, the 2 main bathrooms and the water.
So that's not the first thing you see when you walk in the door?
No.
You're down half a wing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We wanted to put staircase in the center, as you recall, in the center, so that the students were going to both either ends to go up and down.
Can we go back to that?
Oh, yes, yes. I like that center stair, don't you?
No, the glass.
Yeah, I was pushing the button there. And,
Okay.
oh,
You're going the wrong way.
yeah, I'm sorry. Usually my plan's the first, but I went.
I do.
It's getting to it. Right.
So our purpose for that is just,
This is well, and almost daily communication as well. The academic wing is so long, and to have 3 stories and such a long academic wing, when the kids break, this gives them a quick access, you know, to go up and down the steps.
Are you talking about what's the purpose of the third stair, or
Yeah,
what's the
no, the
purpose of the
glass.
wall of glass?
Oh, the glass, well, now
That's what I thought.
now, that's a very good question, because you're probably wondering, yeah. It's actually a code issue. When we have three open communicating, you'll notice our other, and I call them communicating stairs, or stairwells.
Right.
They're wrapped and fire rated. The doors, the walls, and everything.
Right.
The codes allow you to have a completely open staircase if it's 2 stories. As soon as you get 3 or more, we have to wrap it in smoke enclosed. So there's a couple of more doors on the side in the academic wings as well. Yeah, there's doors there. And what we'll do, and we have to sprinkle that glass, as in have sprinkler systems dedicated just for that glass. So in case of a panic or emergency, that still acts as kind of an egress, safe panic haven to go to get up and down. Yes, because otherwise we would not have, so that's a very good question. We probably would not have that glass if it were not for a code issue. But we didn't want to wall it in either, because otherwise it would just be a big, well, we would do something with the wall, but I think opening it up like that really offers. And there's a skylight there, so it brings a lot of natural light down into the lobby as well through that glass. So this is going to be, I think, a real kind of landmark piece of the interior of the school.
Instead of doing a mason wall.
Yeah, instead of doing a masonry wall where it's, or any kind of just solid wall where you can't really see through there.
Right.
Well, supervision as well, since we have to have something to block the smoke and the fire. Someone can be standing out in the lobby and still see the activity in the stairway area.
Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions for Tony?
Tony, on the back end of that property, we are doing,
Came so quick.
we are fencing in on the back end of that property, near the subdivision.
Yes.
Thank you. Can I, did you bring one for Susan to take? Okay.
And basically, that's just the PowerPoint presentation, if you want to be able to refer back to it at some point. I mentioned to have you flip through it over, because I know you all like handouts. Was there a question?
No, you answered mine. I had a couple. Okay. Anybody else? Kevin? No? Steph? Okay. The back room. There we go. All right.
DT's saving so much money on energy, it's hard to turn lights on out here.
Yeah. Thank you, Tony.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right, number 11, approve final plans and BG3 for the new Scott County High School, BG number 21-220, contingent upon approval from the Kentucky Department of Education.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 12, approve new Scott County High School volleyball sleeve variance. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 13, approve new Scott County High School art room variance. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, review and approve the crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED, for the new Scott County High School.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 15, approve change order for Stamping Ground Elementary Edition.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 16, student achievement report. Neosha, welcome to our table.
Thank you.
Candy, can you get us back on the regular agenda?
Well, good evening. We are here just to talk about all of things back to school, and we are super excited to have kids in the building, and we have gotten off to a great start to the school year. The last time that we presented at the board meeting, we were just getting into our Recovery 2 efforts, and so that has since been successfully completed. And so when we did school visits at the beginning of the school year, the first 2 days as an OSL team, we were really excited and pleased to see a lot of Recovery 2 work in action, especially in the form of like our social emotional learning focus that we had. We saw lots of getting to know you activities, how students best learn with their self-awareness. We saw some team expectations and team building, and it was all through that lens of those learning standards. So students were learning these things through inferencing, or they were learning their skills with team building and reliability through that Solid 6 framework that we use for our Work Ready seal. So we were very excited to see that. And so just to give you a little bit more about a firsthand experience on how that Recovery 2 learning and training has been seen and incorporated into our schools, I have here with me today Ms. Courtney Keller, who's going to share her experience from both the facilitator side of Recovery 2 as well as the implementation side as a teacher at Scott County High School.
Hi there. Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about my experience with the Recovery 2 training. As a presenter, I got to share strategies used in my classroom to help others visualize what different components of accelerated learning and social emotional learning look like. With that being said, my favorite part of the training was brainstorming with other teachers across the district on ways we can implement accelerated learning in our classrooms and with our students. I walked away with a lot of tools for my toolbox and a deeper appreciation for what our Scott County teachers do. During our R2 training, one key takeaway was the importance of incorporating social emotional learning opportunities for our students. Because of my role as a facilitator, I've been working with my school team to implement some of the strategies we learned through our research and recovery work. For example, I'm working with the administration team at Scott County High School to incorporate more social emotional learning opportunities during what we call our card time. Through our card time calendar, teachers can simply click on ready-made lessons that our committee has made that focuses on digital citizenship and various social emotional learning competencies, including self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, self-awareness, and responsible decision-making. Another key takeaway from R2 was the importance of just-in-time versus just-in-case learning. At Scott County High School, I've collaborated with the administration team, guidance counselors, the English department, and Ms. Reveal, our ELL teacher, to intentionally schedule our EL GAP students into an English class where they can receive just-in-time instruction with multiple supports. So during the class time that they're in there, those students have access to an English teacher, the EL teacher, that EL's assistant, and a Scott County student leader who speaks fluently in English and Spanish. Finally, our English department has been working on being more intentional with clearly articulating learning goals, which is a part of that accelerated learning, and setting expectations as well as articulating those expectations that we have for our students. We're in the final planning stages also of what our data folders and standards walls will look like. So, thank you.
And so we just wanted to bring forward just one of many positive reviews that we have had in response to how teachers have felt equipped to go into this school year and really accelerate the learning of students to ensure that they are staying on grade level. And so another piece of that, though, is we know that during times of COVID, there are students that are going to be out of our buildings. Maybe it's because of the new bus cancellation plan that we have, which is great to make sure that we are looking ahead. But how are we addressing those student needs? And so the way that we're doing that is we are ensuring that our students have access to Google Classroom. And that's from a standpoint of being able to access lessons that teachers have provided in class. That's being able to check in with students to see how they're doing. Schools have gone above and beyond to make sure that students also have access to paper and hard copy materials that can either be picked up or could be delivered to their homes. So there are a lot of things that are happening at the school level to ensure that all of our students are maintaining that access to grade level work. And so that's all that we really have for this evening, unless there are any questions.
I'd just like to say, back before this came out, I would get receiving several calls about students that was having difficulties, like when we were doing virtual, going through all of that. And then when we opened up and when we allowed the kids to come back, some of those children just absolutely shut down. They refused to come back to school when they had the chance, and those parents called me. And I guess they did because I've known the parents before they had the child that they were concerned about. So I had the pleasure of working with most of those children up through 4-H and this sort of thing. So these kids were always outgoing and never shy. You needed to call on somebody, that's who you went to. And they were concerned something had happened because now, just in these few months, they've completely shut down. So I brought that issue up, and you all assured me that you would get it taken care of. I would like to say that as of right now, all of those kids are doing good. Now, it's not to say they don't struggle a little. All kids do. But they're in school, they're not locked up in the room anymore, and they're back kind of like they were. So I like to pass on the good at the times when you're struggling trying to get done with all the struggles you have at this time. So,
well, thank you so much for that positive feedback. I mean, we cannot say enough about the hard work that our teachers, that our team is doing, that our families are doing to be a true partnership with us in this work. And so we know that it's not going to be perfect, but we are very excited and we know that we're moving forward.
All of those parents deeply do very much so appreciate it, because they've seen the difference that it's made in what they were doing and what they are doing now. So they really appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, for sharing that with us as well. Appreciate that. Number 17, approved memorandum of agreement between the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation and Scott County Schools for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 18, approved memorandum of agreement between the University of Kentucky Next Generation Scholars and Scott County Board of Education for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Approved memorandum of agreement between Murray State University Racer Academy and Scott County Board of Education for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Approved student teaching agreement between Midway University and Scott County Board of Education.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 22, approved student teaching agreement between Western Governors University and Scott County Board of Education.
Did we skip 21?
I sure did. I apologize. Sorry, I switched from computer to paper, so I apologize for that.
I'll make a motion for number 21.
Let me read 21. Approved student teaching agreement between the University of Cumberland's and Scott County Board of Education.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 22, approved student teaching agreement between Western Governors University and Scott County Board of Education.
Move.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Create and ratify district-wide licensed practical nurse.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Create, ratify one kindergarten aide at Lemons Mill Elementary.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 25, create, ratify one elementary teacher for Creekside Elementary School.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 26, create administrative assistant for the Scott County Transportation Department.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 27, create, ratify family resource liaison for Great Crossing High School.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 28, create, ratify special education instructional aid at Eastern Elementary.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 29, create booster paid football assistant coach at Scott County High School.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 30, approve emergency certifications as listed in items 30A through 30K.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed?
And these are only good for 1 year, right? So at the end of this year, all these people will have to shift positions, or they'll get canceled? Is that the case?
Well, it depends on, some of them are in a program, but not to the point where they can get certification. Some of them are fully certified, but this year they need to teach those classes. And some of them meet the very minimum threshold, which is that they would just have a 4-year degree. So depending on whether or not they choose to enroll in a graduate program between now and then determines whether or not they would be nominated or not. But they won't be, they either have to have some type of certification next year, or, now, these are just for 1 year, and the rule forever has just been 1 year, but through the last couple of years, you know, we've seen that we are allowed to get a second year of an emergency certification if we need it.
Number 31, approve adjunct certification for the position of JAG instructor at Elkhorn Crossing School. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 32, approve committed funds as of June 30th, 2021.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 33, approve changes to authorized signer on school activity account.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 34, approve changes to authorized signer on school activity account.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 35, award bid for general maintenance on equipment bid.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 36, declare items as surplus.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 37, second reading for the 2021-2022 KSBA Board Policy Updates.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 38, review administrative procedures for the 2021-2022 KSBA Board Policy Regulations.
Move.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 40, financial statement.
You have submitted in your packet June 2021. Our beginning cash balance was $19.7 million. We had receipts of $8 million, expenses of $16.4 million. Our ending cash balance was $11.5 million. We had investments of $6 million, leaving our ending cash balance at $5.5 million. Question?
No, thank you, Gina. Number 41, approve current bills.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 42, superintendent's report.
Okay, so we're gonna, we'll do a little tag team here. I'll generally go over the big picture stuff on some of these, and then we'll let Billy kind of chime in. On the first one though, under strategic leadership and succession planning, you guys know because you've been in the community longer than I have, but it's been decades since we've had somebody local who's been superintendent, and it's been longer than that a new superintendent has succeeded the previous superintendent, meaning that they've been on the same team. And if you look around at the people in the audience that have moved up in the ranks to fill those slots at the district level, we've also had assistant principals move on up to fill the principal positions that ended up vacant. And I know, every other month you are always asking about how's Grow Your Own, how's Grow Your Own, how's Grow Your Own, and what we've been able to do in Scott County to have this next team ready to take us forward is really just pretty awesome. Under the instructional leadership, I know that Billy and Miosha have met with a couple of you to talk about career tech ed, and of course they toured schools on the first couple of days, so I'll let Billy add a few highlights there.
Yeah, so I went with Dwayne Ellison, Miosha Williams, and Renee Holmes. We completed our visits to all of our schools in the first 2 days. As Miosha had mentioned, the getting to know you activities and team building kind of activities were staples amongst everybody, but also the sense of optimism and the appreciation for being back in school was really there too. One of the things, a big aha for me, I guess, was back in the spring last year. I can recall, teachers, hey, it's so nice to get to meet these kids face to face. But what I didn't realize is we still had that this year because we had some students that were virtual all of last year. So we still had those moments at the beginning of this school year. And I hadn't really, I just hadn't processed that. I just thought that was really neat, and that kind of jumped out at me. Speaking of other meetings we've kind of been to, Board Chair Diana Brooker and Miosha Williams were with me at Scott County United the other day. We went and presented there. We spoke a little bit about COVID-specific school impacts that we were having, and then we also spoke about career and tech education. I shared some about the increased offerings we've had over the years, and then talked about our desire to consider some apprenticeship opportunities, and talked about some of the difficulties that we have maybe with getting through some of the legalities of that, and how, just as a board team, that's something that we desire to look more into. I know that we talked a little bit also about how we've worked collaboratively with KDE and with the Chamber in some of that talk about apprenticeships as well. And then we talked a little bit about some of just the the obstacles that exist with CTE, and I try to explain it to them too, not in such a way to kind of suggest that we're trying to squash anything, but just to kind of say these are things that we're considering and thinking about as we try and improve on our career and technical education offerings. That's that piece of it. So.
Under Standard 3 cultural leadership, like really we've tried to always do, be really transparent in the information that we put out there. Even though there's not been a state requirement for us to put that data out there, every single day you guys are going to get a copy of, and we put it on our web. Daily positives for students and staff, and daily quarantines for students and staff. Under the, so you're going to add something? I'm sorry. So under the human resources piece, two things I'd like for Billy to talk about is we do have 5 new principals this year, and they've come up with a mentoring program for those folks, kind of mirroring the internship program we used to have for principals. And then I think Billy's really excited to share some data for our switch to a new Section 125 vendor for our benefits plan, and there's some material in your folders too.
And with the mentoring piece and mentoring our new principals, we've really been specific about providing those internal supports. Use the people that we've got in-house for that. But we've also got a few layers of external supports that we plan to bring on, and I'm sure I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we kind of get going. As one specific example, I do think about the fact that we sent Mr. Kruger to a school, and he was there this morning providing some support to help a principal get through some things that they were working on. So again, we've got our plan kind of in full effect. The Houchin stuff. So there's really 3 people, and actually there's some. There we go. You've got some information in your packet that goes along with that, and really with the Houchin stuff, there's pretty much, I guess, 3 different things that jump out to me there. One, you know, we're able to save our employees money, and really it's their money. So it's their money that they're putting up for these, for these different benefits that they're after. But I feel like what I've heard the most from is people that said, hey, well, I used to have this. Well, it only cost me, you know, whatever, way less than it did before. So then instead of just being satisfied with those savings, they've taken those savings and said, well, you know what, it's not money I was missing anyway. So they ended up just rolling it into other stuff. I will say though, for me personally, the most proud piece I have about this is the fact that I have had conversations with different employees who, prior to this time, there were certain benefits they couldn't afford. And by, you know, such as having short-term disability and long-term disability split up to where, you know, the long-term disability is something that's oftentimes a lot cheaper. And so having that split out, that's something that they can afford, and they were able to have some coverage and some benefit that they didn't before. So I just, I've been really excited about it. We did have a couple hiccups the first 2 days with protocols and whatnot, but we did get through that, and it's been smooth sailing. So we're real excited about it.
Under managerial leadership, we've got some historic numbers of meals being served. And then Miosha mentioned a little bit, but we're going to recycle our really pretty successful transportation plan from last spring. So Bill will talk about those.
So with food service, me and Mr. Ellison had an opportunity to go to the managers meeting right before school started. They had it at the transportation, at the school nutrition house, the Johnson house. But anyway, we went there and met with them, and it was really good to talk through the relationships that they're having with their schools and their school principals and how they're being brought into the fold and being part of that school community. So I did want to bring that up before I really got into talking about historic meal numbers. Well, as we went on our tours going to the schools, we tried to make sure that every stop we went into the cafeteria and talked to our folks in the kitchen. And the one place that I missed was Great Crossing High School. So on day 3 of school, I went back by and had lunch. And I was really glad because they had the most earth-shattering information there was. The first thing I'll say is I'm unaware of anybody whose numbers aren't through the roof. Everybody's numbers are up. But the most profound information that was shared was that Great Crossing High School served 1,004 meals on, I think it was the second day of school. That is more than they ever served at Scott County High School before the school split. And that just, I just could not imagine that. I thought that was just pretty profound. Now, with all of that, and with what's going on in the world, you know where I'm going here, there is grocery shortages. And I talked to Mitzi, I talked to her, I don't know, every other day or so, just walking through where are we with that. And, you know, because sometimes, you know, she's just worried to death about making sure our kids get fed. The problem we're having isn't in, oh, we're going to run out of food. It's in, we can't keep the menu consistent throughout the course of the day. You know, they might have 700 meals available at Great Crossing High School for X, and then they run out of that and have to change the menu on the fly that day. So that's a challenge that we're running into. The other thing that we talked about with some of those grocery challenges, oh shoot, it's escaping me now. I had something else I wanted to bring up about that. Maybe I'll come back to it. Let's see, and then transportation plan. Let's jump on the transportation plan. This is the transportation plan. It's just like what we did before. As you might recall, though, from the spring, with the transportation plan, as the spring went on, the number of routes that we were having impacted ended up dwindling down to where at the end we didn't have any routes that were having to be canceled. And that's where we hope to be with this. This first week, I think there's usually around 8 routes that we've got on the schedule, and only we have to cancel 6 of them this week. But again, we're hopeful that that won't be a consistent thing. We do have 4 drivers that are in the pipeline. They've had their permits. We're waiting on within the next 2 weeks, they should have their final test and they should become available. And then we've got 2 other people beyond that. They're not quite as far along, but they're in the pipeline as well. So that's just kind of where we are with the transportation plan. And you know, I know Ms. Williams talked a little bit about too, if we have to implement that plan, how we're planning to try and keep our students that aren't able to get here out of harm's way. I'll also say too, we were very strategic about the routes that were selected for a given week. So with that said, there are certain bus routes that are probably less likely to be able to find another way, just to put it to you pretty clearly. And so we're very careful with thinking about when we don't have to cancel all of them, which ones can we bring back into the fall.
When do we get enrollment numbers and just kind of get at least a preliminary idea of where we are with numbers? Like total students enrolled
At each school,
at each school?
enrollment numbers.
And are you not talking bus
No,
specifically?
no, just in general. Like, I know we don't look at those really until like how far into the,
Well, I mean, every day.
yeah.
I mean,
But they fluctuate for the first,
They do a little. The one thing, so ironically, just earlier today, I was talking, was it Neosha, were we talking about numbers a little bit? We were talking, and Gina, I know we were talking about numbers.
I'm sure she's acutely aware
Oh,
of our
yes,
numbers.
yes. But one of the interesting things that, that came out was that the numbers, I think it was 2019, the third day, I pulled up the third day of the 10-day count for 2019, and we were at 9,377 students total, not attendance,
Right.
but average daily membership. And right now, we're just under that, we're 9,300 and change. So even with all the challenges that we're going through, our average daily membership is kind of right there, which is kind of interesting. And then as far as numbers go, that's why two of the agenda items were, a teacher at Creekside and an aide at Women's Mill, and that was due to those enrollment numbers. But that's definitely something. If you wanted to know specifics, I could
No,
pass those along to you.
I was hoping that we were not, that we were close to what we were pre-pandemic.
Right.
Is kind of what I was hoping for. So it sounds like we are.
Now, and Dr. Hubb may want to chime in, but one factor I might bring up that is a little different is going to be that attendance rate, because where we do have quarantines that are playing into our numbers, it is a little bit lower. So that impacts our ADA, even though our average daily membership is closer to where it was pre-pandemic.
Did you say our overall number for the district? Did I miss that?
Yes,
It's 9,300 and that's, yeah, there, that's, that is correct.
9,358.
So if you could just give us enrollment for each school, that'd be great when you guys pull those together here this week.
All right, so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say too that, I have heard from several parents who are have been impacted by the bus previously, not yet, but, and that, appreciative of the fact that the district was looking at the whole picture and trying to get as many students as we can in. And I think that sometimes when I think about, the students who were doubled up on a bus way longer than they should have been, and weighing that against we're just gonna do this other thing that is safer and gets more students to school.
And I think sometimes it's, every community is susceptible to it. Sometimes you hear from the squeaky wheels, but we got an email, I think, was it today or yesterday, Dr. Hubb? Yesterday, from a grandfather in the community, and he left a message, and he said, hey, I wanted you to know, I understand what you're dealing with, and I'm planning on getting my kids to school, and I know there's rules and things that might make it difficult, but if you need me to pick up anybody, you just let me know, and I'll pick them up on the way. So, there's.
I mean, that's just like my week is the very first week. Luckily, I'm in a position where it's not going to affect us. We can just manage as a family, get our JP to and from, and, I'm just going to put it out there. We've got an 8-passenger vehicle. Anybody else needs to jump in, can jump in. But as a community, that's just kind of what we have to do to take care of each other. So, but my question was, for the kids that can't make it, and you say, okay, we're going to do Google Classroom. So are all teachers still maintaining the Google Classroom? Because that can be a broad spectrum of things. That could be Google Meets. Is it just like loading assignments in Google Classroom where the kids can hop on and get their assignments and go? Like what does that entail?
So I think we talked real briefly today,
Right.
and that Ms. Williams was kind of gathering that information. And every school has a little bit of autonomy with their plans, but I was gonna let her, if she wanted
Yeah.
to just kind of chime in.
Right.
Yeah, it's not Google Meets, it's not that. We are ensuring that kids have access to their assignments, teachers also have that archive of some of those asynchronous lessons and videos from last year that are also able to be there. And then again, if students would prefer like a hard copy, because there are those students that like they just need it right in front of them,
Right.
then that option is also available to them as well. And our schools are working really hard. They've got some great plans to even get those delivered to students if they can't make it at any other time to get that.
And then, what if, are we getting devices to them if they need it?
Yeah, I mean, if students need that, then that's being provided at the school level to ensure they have what they need to continue the learning.
Because I just don't want a kid to, be left out there like on an island. They can't get to school, they don't have a device, they don't, if they're out there and they don't have the parent support to make sure that they're getting what they need. We need an adult to step up and say, what do you need and how can we get it to you?
Absolutely, and the teachers are doing a fantastic job of also checking in with those students to make sure that it's not just self-paced learning, but they're getting also that support from that. And then we've got a lot of schools that are going to start incorporating their after-school programs, and even some schools that are starting to get on to that Saturday school early to make sure that when kids return back that they have that opportunity to get that as well. Not only while they're out, but on the back end of that too.
Is that happening as well as when they're quarantined, so they're not just
Yes, it
missing that
is.
instruction?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
So under Standard 6 Collaborative Education, really since the beginning of your tenure, we've had these pre-agenda meetings. And Billy's also got some stuff to share about directors and principals. Probably important to the first half.
And much like Mr. Kidwell before her, Board Chair Diana Brooker has, I can't commend you enough. I really appreciate the opportunity that we've had, and it really, again, it helps me to get familiar with, just to build those relationships. So it's been great, and I really appreciate it. And then as far as the director and principal staff coverage kind of piece, so super excited when last week Southern one day had some issues with subs, and it was beyond, we've got steep subs out there, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but with that, they still had beyond those means they just couldn't be met. And it was awesome to see Mr. Kruger and our elementary principals just kind of get together and just talk it out. Like, hey, I can help you with, I give you one. I'm not, you can have ours. So it was just really good to see, just really, I don't know, so often, that we have to have policies and things in place to make everybody play nice, but it was really encouraging to see that our bunch can do it on their own, unprovoked. So I thought that was cool.
Before I go to number 7, one thing I've noticed in the last few minutes is that we need to make an update to the bingo card. DT, I think you've been removed and it's been replaced by Paul.
Yes.
Getting positive comments everywhere.
Thank you.
That's one of the first actions that Superintendent Parker is taking.
Well, I figured my bingo board needs to be
Speaking of Superintendent Parker, and he, he trying to hurt his arm, patting himself on the back. He kind of reminded us already. Once again, I have not been influential, but Mr. Parker with his steep sub idea has everybody calling him. So if you would like to.
No, and Dr. Huck gives way too much. He does give way too much credit away with the steep subs, because I can still remember that lunch conversation when we discussed that whole situation and trying to figure that out where to do it. But I will say this, that the steep subs idea has been, it was cutting edge, and we're seeing that, we've got Molly McComas in Clark County. Molly's reached out, hey, how y'all got this structure? So we've got her looking at it. We've got people, Oldham County reached out to us, Harrison County. So we have districts that, beyond that, have asked just, hey, what's going on with that? But then we've had others, like I just mentioned, that have taken kind of that next step that I'm pretty sure that they got some level of that they're implementing. And again, I talked to Mrs. Brooker about just the cost associated with that, because, you know, it is an elevated pay for our service, but it's something that we have found value in, and, you know, I've yet to hear a principal that has frustrations with it, outside of the fact that we've been hiring them up in regular positions, but, as far as if we can keep them well stocked where they're everywhere that they need to be, I haven't heard any complaints from them, so, Steve Stubbs has been great, for sure.
That concludes our superintendent report.
Thank you. Number 43.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.